Huzzah, Rangers! This is Phil Harris here at the Jax Rangers Show. I am joined by my good friend, Dave McVeigh. We call him Diamond Dave. Dave, how the hell are you?
I am, I guess I'm okay, Phil. I guess I'm okay. How are you doing?
Excellent, man. Maybe really haven't been better in many, many, many months because
Yeah.
our New England Free Jacks are going to Chicago, baby. We've got a chance to win the ship, to lift the shield. Man, I'm so excited. I'm so proud of this organization and the team and everybody in the staff. I'm just so happy for those guys. But before we get too far into anything in terms of celebrations or sipping champagne, we have to go over what took place for the actual event and prior to the game itself. So the festival, the tailgate, the atmosphere. What was your take on all of that? What was your experience before the game, Dave?
It's a great experience. We decided, I invited a friend, my buddy Mike came down to the game, so we had a guest with my family. It was actually my anniversary with my wife,
Oh,
Becky, who,
nice.
yep. And so for our anniversary, I got her an Eastern Conference championship.
Perfect. Perfect.
No, I think she's watching now. Love you, Becky. Thank you for all your support. It's been a wild ride. But yeah, it was a great day. We went and got lunch before. We celebrated our
Nice.
anniversary with some fried food at the Fowler House Cafe.
Okay.
Had a great time. Got to the match plenty early. The kids ran around and did all the, great stuff that there always is to do before a Free Jacks game. And we got settled in. The haze and the fog were kind of ominous. Had a little
Yeah,
bit of
about
like a
that.
Silent Hill feel to it.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, the actual game day was great. It was everything we expect out of a Free Jacks home match.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the weather was great other than the air quality due to the Canadian wildfires on Canada Day of all days. Caitlin and I were purposely got there a little bit earlier than we normally do. We brought vegan donuts from our favorite spot in Kittery, Maine, a place called Lovebird Donuts. They were a huge hit with all of the Rangers at the tailgate. Bozo Six was there, and also Dan from Merrimack and his brother. They brought a rugby ball, and so there was like a circle of people passing the ball around, which was awesome.
Oh, great.
Bozo bought 2 Beer Fest tickets accidentally, so I was able to go with him, which was my first ever experience at the Beer Fest. And it was great. Like it was great value for money in the sense that I didn't have to pay for anything, but also I think Bozo paid like $20 for both of them, or no, each one. But you get 15 pours, and you get a little cool, what is that, Arctic cooler tumbler as well. They handed
Yeah,
those out, which was
like a
awesome.
can koozie, except
Yes,
it's a hard,
yes.
insulated Arctic
Right.
koozie.
It's
So
like a Yeti
yeah,
type of thing. So yeah, I mean, I think for that price, it was a steal, and the beer was really good. I met some of the fans of the show, which was awesome. One guy, which is like the prototype of the success of the Free Jacks, is guy didn't play rugby, didn't know rugby, lives in Quincy or the surrounding areas, heard about the Free Jacks, came to a game and got hooked and started listening to our show, which made him even more engaged in the Free Jacks. So like, that is a win a million times over for the Free Jacks organization. We need more of those people for sure, but just experience those folks and talk to them was really, really great. I was a little nervous about the crowd noise, to be honest with you, but the Rangers really showed up in a big way in Section 5 and surrounding areas because it was a home playoff game. And I'm really glad that people understand that like when you play knockout games, you got to bring it in terms of a crowd noise, and they definitely did. The Free Jacks fans definitely did.
yeah.
It was just more than the usual suspects involved in the chants, which was great. But yeah, really, really enjoyed it. That is 9 wins at home, undefeated at Fort Quincy. It truly is. Veterans Memorial Stadium truly is a fortress. We don't just say that as like some sort of marketing thing. It
Yeah.
really, really, truly is a fortress. And the Free Jacks proved that this year with going undefeated at home, which I predicted that they would do. But that was just like wishful thinking, right? Because we want to have that type of
Right.
intimidating atmosphere. We want people coming in there to not want to play us at home. And that's exactly what it turned out to be. My voice is still a little hoarse. I'm sure you can hear it here.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a noisy day, and I think the smoke got everybody a little extra hoarse,
yes.
a little faster. So
No doubt. Just to clarify, it wasn't 15 beers because otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you right now. It was just 15 pours and like, a cup like this big.
yeah.
So, and I only drank like maybe 6 or 7 pours. So, yeah, I'm a lightweight, man. I can't hang like that.
Yeah, I will note that apparently the upcoming beer fest, separate from the rugby,
Mhm.
the Wallop beer. This was like the mini Wallop or the pre Wallop they had there. They have
Yes,
like a larger beer fest at Veterans coming up, and it
that's
is
right.
billed as unlimited pours. You get
What?
in and you just get yourself a good time.
Wow, that's gonna be wild. That's
Yeah.
gonna be electric. Fort Quincy defended all year. You're absolutely right. Got a lot of laughing emojis here. Very, very funny stuff. Also, that was Dan from Merrimack. Appreciate you watching in here, Dan, as always. Let's move over to the actual game itself. There was a game that was played at Fort Quincy, and boy, was it glorious. Huh? Huh? There we go. All right. So let me grab that article right here. I am pulling this directly from our friends over at America's Rugby News. Our good friend Brian Ray, who is our Toronto correspondent, does a fantastic job covering North and South American rugby over there. The New England Free Jacks have punched their ticket to their first ever championship final with a dominant 25-7 win over Old Glory DC on Saturday. A strong crowd at Veterans Memorial Stadium watched their home side claimed the Eastern Conference title in style with a shutout for over 70 minutes. And I really think that right there describes the game, very, very well. The shutout part of this is something that the Free Jacks should be extremely proud about. They played a team that upset New York, who was, gaining a bit of form. Obviously, they had some injury woes midseason, and they're not the same team that they were last year. But at the same time, they're the defending champions. DC upset them at home. They had belief. They knew that they were coming in here to play a team that they were not scared of. Even though they had lost to us twice prior to, they were coming in here with some belief, and that makes the teams dangerous. But guess what? The Free Jacks didn't care, man. Like, they were like, okay, we'll shut you out for 70 minutes to shut you up. And that's just
Yeah.
so awesome.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
there are shutouts and there are shutouts too, right? Like there are games where it's a shutout because you just beat the bag out of somebody and they can never even get into your half of the field. And that we'll get into the details, but that's not what this was, right?
Yes.
DC was threatening for long periods of time throughout the game, and the Free Jacks has kind of become their trademark.
Yeah,
Just refused to let them in the
that's
last
right.
5, the last 20,
Yep.
however much room they needed, they just they found it. They found a way to get those stops over and
Yeah.
over and over.
This team really takes pride in their defensive, stamina and strength for sure. They don't want teams to score on them. Even regardless, the game was pretty much over with at that point. But for them to continue to make that effort to keep them out of the try zone was really, really special. The in goal area, excuse me. It was a storming start for the home side. Philemone and Reese McDonald combined to win a turnover over a junior Sal break, and the Free Jacks pushed into DC territory. The attack came up the middle, and LaRue Milan burst free to slide under the post for the opening score. Again, every time LaRue Milan touches the ball, guys, something great is going to happen. Something magical is going to happen, and he keeps proving that over and over and over again. Next thing it says here, DC were again stuck in their end, and from an attacking line out, Andrew Quatrin went over for another 5. Tito Diaz Manella, a late addition to the lineup in place of Gradrin Bowd, then kicked too long on the restart to concede a scrum. Jason Patras fired a 50-22 into the corner, and after sustained pressure, added 3 points from the tee to make it a 3-score game. So right out of the gate, the Free Jacks are, storming right along, I guess is a great way to describe it. I mean, they were really getting after it, and I really wanted to see that from the Free Jacks, because one thing that Old Glory really needed to do was have a quick start to shut Fort Quincy up a little bit. They weren't going to kill the crowd, but they could quiet the crowd, which would have really been to their benefit. But they couldn't get that done, and the Free Jacks immediately pounced and said, we understand that you probably want to do that, but we're going to flip that on its head, and good luck trying to catch up with us. So that was very, very encouraging to see. When Old Glory finally got some possession, they pushed into New England's half, but time and time again, they were repelled by a swarming defense. The Free Jacks held on and pushed back out towards halfway. Eventually, a penalty was conceded in kicking range for Patras, who made no mistake to leave it 18-0 to the home side at halftime. Now, you and I were definitely pumping up the tires of Old Glory DC in the previous preview because we had just seen them upset a New York team. Yeah. And we, again, they're a good team. This is a team that I think won 3 games last year. And for them to even be in this position is a huge, huge testament to how they've turned that thing around. So we were definitely praising them quite a bit. But for the because I think we both anticipated, I mean, obviously you throw the dice, so whatever comes out, comes out. But we were kind of expecting a closer game, and then maybe the Free Jacks would distance themselves in like the last 65 minutes or so. But for them, the Free Jacks to take control and dominate that first half was so encouraging. What was your first half thoughts there, Dave?
Yeah, I joked after that, 15 minutes in or whatever, when Patros gets his kicking the penalty over.
Yeah.
This is what I was hoping for. Just keep scoring about a point a minute. That sounds good. I mean, that's like what we were doing up in Toronto, right?
Yep.
So I got maybe not cocky, but if you believe in jinxes, I may have jinxed it a little bit, because at that point I was just laughing about like, okay, this is talk about taking the stress out of a situation, right? When you're just scoring that quickly. Mm-hmm. It really made the first half, in particular the first 20 minutes, feel really comfortable. And then things started to shift a little bit, and DC was able to get in and really fight for territory. They were successful, really successful, in getting territory and at least being able to threaten the Free Jacks.
Yes.
But they just were not able to get it over. And in fact, had their possession broken up, not always for a long time, but often long enough. The Free Jacks would get an exit, get a few lineouts, a few phases. There were a couple errors in there too. Wasn't perfect rugby from either team. And so DC would get back. But sometimes that's all you need. You just need a breather, right?
Yeah.
Even if you end up back in your half, if you can break up that pressure a little bit, play some attacking rugby in between, that helps a lot. And I think that's one thing that helped keep the Free Jacks alive there with all that DC pressure and without giving up any points. Going into the half with, a big goose egg for DC and 3 scores for the Free Jacks lead was really, a comfortable place to be. But it's sort of it was one of those situations where the scoreline didn't quite match how I felt. I think just because of how much territory DC were able to get.
Yep.
And we back the Free Jacks defense. We know that they're really effective, and they're in particular very good in the tight, in that inside the 22, inside the 5, and they did it. I mean, they proved their reputation. But in the playoffs, and when you can see that, like, our game plan is to get the ball and get out of there. We don't want to be there. Even if we're comfortable being there, we don't want to be there. And DC was able to just keep play in that part of the field for some decent chunks. So we had a good lead on the scoreboard. There's only 40 minutes left to go, so that's a good position to be in. Totally. But it certainly didn't feel over. Like, DC was not done, and we were going to have to come out and close it out in that second half.
What's interesting is, like, for me, I'm always beating my chest at the beginning of the week, regardless of who the opponent is. I've always feel like the Free Jacks are going to win. And then later on in the week, I start to feel less confident about that. But for the most part, prior to this game, I was like, yeah, DC's done fantastic this year. Good for them. Hats off to them. But the Free Jacks are going to win. And I really didn't change that approach. I got a little concerned when I saw our team roster, but not too much. It didn't stick with me with that fear of like, oh, we're going to lose, which does happen quite a bit to me. But then, like I saw that Tito was out for them, their fly half, or at least
Yep.
he was on the roster as not being available. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I feel really good about all of this. So from there, like, going into halftime, having shut out our opponent at home, I was feeling very, very comfortable there. Really, really excited to see that goose egg on DC's end there. So, yeah, let's get back over to the article here from our good friend Brian Ray of America's Rugby News. It says, let's see here, both sides brought on fresh legs early in the second half, but neither could make a dent on the scoreboard. Two New England assaults were turned away with some committed goal line defense, and Old Glory held on to the hour mark with the score remaining identical. On the other side of the hydration break, the Free Jacks put the game out of sight. Kurt Baker knocked on, and Ben Lesage dropped a grubber that bounced in in goal, Philemone won the race to the ball, and then the try went up on the board with Patras making it 25-0 to the home side. There was a situation, I believe, prior to that where the Free Jacks had a try disallowed. It came all the way back. But when that took place there with Ben Lesage kicking that grubber over and Philemone getting that ball, I turned around. I love Dan from Merrimack. He's fantastic, but he's a nervous New England fan. He really, really is. And, I looked back at him and I said, man, it's over. Like, there's nothing to be worried about at this point. This thing is done with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, at that point, I was over the moon. I didn't cry, but you know how your face, like, contorts as if you're going to cry?
Right.
I was experiencing
feels tight.
that.
I didn't cry, but my face felt tight.
No doubt. I was jumping up and down at that point, saying it's over, and I wanted to cry, but it didn't quite come out.
It's all right. You can cry. It's manly to cry.
Yeah,
I've soared with the eagles, and I've slithered with the snakes.
Damn right.
And I've shed many tears with my brothers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It says here how was the atmosphere at Fort Quincy, even with the weather? That's from our boy Dylan. As I was saying at the beginning of the broadcast, it was really, really good. Really, really good. Now, this year, at certain points, the crowd chanting and stuff like that has been unorganized and a little bit lackluster compared to the last season. But this particular game, and I think it's because it was a playoff game, like everybody absolutely brought it to a new level. It was loud, and it was great to see.
Yeah, the weather was it looked bad on TV probably,
right?
But it was pretty comfortable. Other than the air quality was not great. So as you were saying earlier, like some hoarseness. I definitely noticed my voice was going faster than it normally would.
Totally.
But the actual like air temperature, and just like the conditions, other than breathing, were pretty great. And visibility was good too, which was I was a little concerned about with just the amount of fog and haze. But once you're there, you're good.
Yeah, for sure. One of the Ranger marks here, no number for crowd size was given. I don't think so. Now, we have Ranger Payne, who's our resident nerd, and I mean that in the nicest way, that's able to compile some spreadsheets. Now, he could just be putting numbers in there randomly, and I wouldn't know the difference. But I'm pretty sure he told us it was over 4,000 about a day or so prior to the actual event. But it certainly was not the same numbers as the previous game against Houston. Was it sold out? That was from Gary. Was it sold out? I think the Free Jacks were announcing a sellout on social media, but I think they're referring to the actual, just the sections, maybe not standing room only tickets sold. But I'm pretty sure that at some point they said that it was a sellout. But I think they're just considering that just the seated sections being sold out. So let me see here. It certainly wasn't the same amount of people as the Houston game. I will tell you that.
May have been a technical sellout. I don't know. I didn't see that,
sellout.
But, attendance dip, which you would expect. I saw a number, in like the high 3,000s. So, but it would be that'd be like 1,000 less or so than the season, which makes sense to me when you consider it was Father's Day weekend, which is a
Yes.
weekend for not traveling, right?
Right.
Generally, like it's like
Staying home.
you'd staying home. If maybe doing a dad centered event, like I don't know, a Old Crow Medicine Show concert and a rugby game.
Yeah.
I think that really fed into the great attendance for that. And then this, it was an Eastern Conference final and a playoff, but it's also July 4th weekend.
Yes.
There's a lot of travel that occurs. I actually saw a lot of questions from like international MLR fans on social media kind of questioning that, saying like, why would the attendance drop, and having to be reminded that like it's a big holiday in the US
weekend,
and
like,
it's
people go places. Yeah.
Right. The school year has ended everywhere. Families are traveling. There's a lot of stuff that feeds into it. But so the crowd was a little bit smaller, but was a good crowd and energetic and certainly celebratory. Great atmosphere.
Totally. Let's get back to the article. It's almost done here. Then I'll be able to answer some more questions in the chat. Old Glory finally got on the board at the 72nd minute mark when a crossfield kick from Diaz Manila found threatened Palamo out wide. Diaz Manila landed the extras, but it was too little, too late. The final minutes ticked away with no further scoring. It's off to Chicago next Saturday for the Free Jacks to face off against the Western Conference champion, the San Diego Legion. Despite the disappointment for Old Glory, they have much to celebrate after their first ever trip to the playoffs and now turn their eye to the 2024 campaign. I will say that they had quite a bit, I would say maybe 50 fans that showed up. The team bust in, Old Glory specifically bust in some fans, and some other was, either drove themselves or maybe took a train or flew in, which it was great to see the opposing fans there. That's really kind of the first time that we've had that type of number at Fort Quincy with opposing fans, which that's very, very cool to see. They didn't have a lot to cheer about, obviously, but it's nice to have other fans experience our tailgating atmosphere and also just the atmosphere at Fort Quincy, which is second to none across the league.
Yeah, I'm really glad the team put that bus together
Yes.
for fans. I'm sure not everybody who's there was on the bus, but it must have really helped. I heard also that they were, the team was helping out with even like subsidizing accommodations and things like that for people. So good on you to DC. Shout out to that organization, to their fans, for making sure that, like you said, it was the first time we really had a big turnout from the other team in Veterans Memorial Stadium, and it was great to see. You want to see more of that for sure.
Totally. We're getting a Facebook user commenting, I heard OGDC paid for family and loved ones tickets and travel. Class act by the club. Yeah, that's pretty cool that they did that.
Yep.
I will say that super fan AKP Alistair, who does the Glorious Rugby podcast with our boy Fitzy from Rugby Morning, was there at the tailgate. I got a photo with him, talked to him a little bit. Nice guy. So glad for that fan base to have a successful winning team. I don't think they're going to go away. Now, obviously, they're going to have a coaching change at the end of this season because Josh Sims is going overseas to, I believe, Italy, as we call it, where I'm from. We'll see how it goes. But I mean, that's something that they can build upon for sure. No longer are they the bottom feeders of the league, so that's interesting.
Certainly not. I think their fans can feel really good about the season that they had.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. They were playing with house money in that game, right? They won a playoff game for the first time ever, first time they made the playoffs. So it's just, kind of icing on the cake. Will either of you be making the journey to Chicago? That is from Dylan. Both of us will be there. And there's some exciting developments that are going to be happening prior to the game. So make sure you're watching out for that. Go ahead, Dave.
And we should say we'll be, are you in section 130, Phil?
I am. I've switched over my tickets. I sure did. So there's an announcement. I think we're going to get more into that in the next little segment here.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
But we're trying to get all of the Rangers put into one area. It's a bit of a, it's moving, we're journeying through the desert here, but hopefully it'll all work out in the end. But I want all of us to be together. I think that'd be fantastic. Because I love all you guys. You guys are great, and us together, nobody can stop us in the crowd.
Yeah. I just want to say, just in case anybody hears this part and not later, We'll
Yes.
talk more about that later. There is a discount code East
Hmm.
Champs. You can use that to get tickets in section 130, which will be the fan section. And we'll get
Yes.
into more details when we do the preview.
Absolutely, absolutely. And check our Facebook post or any type of Twitter or Instagram if you're not able to watch the next segment to get more instructions that way. There are announcements that are taking place. Okay, so musket-sized pants tip for me. Kyle Bailey, 32 years old, 6'5", 247 pounds. 28 Canadian caps. He played for London Scottish and was on trial with Saracens back in 2017. He was the New Orleans Gold captain for a while, played 3 years down there before spending last season with Toronto and got picked up by Old Glory DC during the season and quickly became their co-captain. We've talked about him quite a bit. He's a warrior. Would love to have seen him in red, white, and blue. Didn't have a huge impact in the game, but you can tell he's an on-field leader for them. Kind of controls their line-out maul as you would expect a second row to do. But yeah, what a guy for sure.
Yep.
MVP, and I'll let you go first.
All right. There are a lot of people who had pretty good performances. Mitch Jacobson got the deserved nod on the broadcast. He led in carries and tackles, doing his best Vian Conradi impersonation. Had too many ruck arrivals to count. He's always hitting the rucks. Joe Johnston was all over the pitch like always. His motor just always running. Jason Patros managed a really tough tactical game. JP did, and he kind of split the kicking. JP's kicking was great as always. Our props were able to generate several scrum penalties. There were a couple scrum penalties to us in the first half with the starting front row. There were a couple of scrum penalties in the second half with our second front row. And there was just a lot of really good performance. But for me, it's Connor Keys.
My boy.
The big man played a full match opposite your musket-sized pants tent, Kyle Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
He put in 10 tackles, some of them real good thumpers, and he was the driving force, literally, behind the plethora of scrum penalties that really took away a lot of the thunder from DC and kept them with that 0 on the board for so long.
It's a great selection right there. I will say just really quickly before I get into mine, Caitlin has been referring to me as Tall Q lately, but also she's been calling me Old Keezer lately. And I told that to Q, and he's like, you know what? You kind of do look like Keezer. So at the award ceremony, when I was announced as winning the Community Impact Award, obviously, Q was clapping for him, but he kept saying, Keezer. which is awesome. But I will go ahead and give my MVP away. It is Andrew Quatrin. Q. He didn't play the whole game, but he scored himself a try on Canada today. He's been unreal for us all season long. I knew when we got this guy, he was a gamer and continues to prove it week in and week out. He's a force to be reckoned with when he's out there on the pitch. That was the case when against DC when it mattered most. Controlling. Just a great overall powerful hooker, and he does really, really well with those line out throws, which kind of goes under the radar when he's in the game because it's so consistently good. So Q is my MVP of the game. Let's talk about the award ceremony and stuff that happened afterwards because, we're kind of underplaying it a little bit here, but our New England Free Jacks are Eastern Conference champions for the first time in franchise history. A lot of us thought it would be the case last year. It just wasn't to be, but we've got over that hump. That monkey is off our back.
Yep.
And it feels so good. It feels good to be good, and the New England Free Jacks are damn good. Let's talk about you getting called up onto the stage there with the huzzah sign. How cool was that?
Yeah, it was great. They did a little presentation over there. Mag spoke about how great the fan base is. Wheelsy kind of ran things. Mm-hmm. They had Eric Anderson up, who admitted to some light corporate crime, as he is of wont to do. It was a lot of fun. And then as they were rapping, Wheelsy, he's always going to deliver. We were out there watching. You were right up close. You were front row seats, and everybody was just kind of scattered around. And it actually took me a second to realize it was going on. Right. I missed the first minute or two of it because I just, we had the family. We're kind of wandering onto the field, getting there, And then at one point I'm like, oh shit, they're doing the speeches and everything like right over there. So we booked it over and made it. And then Wheelsy called me on up there. We did
Mhm.
a three huzzahs for the
Yep.
boys
Yep.
with Mags and Thomas Grant there on stage flanking me. And then we
Mhm.
gave the Let's Ride to close the award
Hell yeah.
ceremony. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate, the little bit of recognition, and it's really enjoyable to create a fun fan engagement
Mhm.
thing that we do with the huzzahs there. So
Yeah, love it. Love it. You're retiring that bad boy at the end of the season, I believe. So that
yep,
the
that's right. It will be a gift to the team after the season has come to a close. I was joking with TK today about giving it to him after the Chicago game, just so that he has an annoying giant
oh
piece of
no.
styrofoam to protect all the way
Yep.
back to Boston. But no, we'll get it there to them, and they've
Awesome.
got some hardware to put it up next to in that trophy cabinet.
Perfect. Yeah, that's where it belongs. It'll eventually be, if this thing is successful, it'll, as we hope it will be, it'll be in the Hall of Fame one day, hopefully, with all the signatures on there. The first ever huzzah sign, and when we say it's being retired, you're creating a new one to more
Yeah, yeah.
sturdy
The
to
the
go forward.
huzzah, yeah, the activity of huzzahs is not being retired.
Right.
Just that sign, if you've seen it up close, you've seen it. It is, it's pretty beat up. It's just a
Yeah.
piece of poster board,
Hmm.
or what do they call it? Foam board, right? That
Yeah.
has like a little bit of styrofoam in between two pieces of paper, essentially. So it's quite wrinkled and rankled, and it's been rained on and stepped on and crunched and folded enough times that it's ready to be retired. So next year we'll debut something else. I've got a couple ideas. I'm not going to worry about it right now though. It's an
Sure.
off-season
Sure.
project. So,
Of course. Yep.
but we'll trickle out some leaks later on in the
Very good.
postseason. Keep things
Hell yeah.
fun.
Awesome. Yeah, when I had it in my possession for that 1 week, I felt like it was like, what is it, Frodo? Where you're like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
you're carrying the ring, like, Jesus, this thing, like, I don't want to like accidentally light this thing on fire or something like that, so I got to be careful. But yeah, that little thing that took place there with Mitch being named the MVP. We got video of that. JP getting his 50th cap, got video of that. Josh Larson giving some captain's comments, and then
yep,
the owners talking, and then you're up there. So all of that has been compiled into a video that we have released on YouTube that's available out there, guys, if you want to check it out. I believe it's called Eastern Conference Post-Game Compilation. So just all the good stuff
great.
that took place over on that stage. And finally, I just wanted to
And
mention one thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was just gonna say, if you only watch one thing from it, watch John Poland's 50th cap. I mean, that's
Totally.
quite an accomplishment. He's the first free jack to do it. All 50 are as a free jack.
Yep.
He's really been a battler. Um, so a lot of respect to him, and
Mhm.
congratulations on being the 50
100%.
cap free jack.
Yeah, the first one to do it, in the red, white, and blue, all of them in the red, white, and blue. So that's very, very special. What a great player he is. I just wanted to mention before we get out of here, you know, when the trophy was presented, almost immediately after it was held up by the boys for all the photos, it got passed around to fans and specifically kids,
Yeah,
right?
two little kids just running all over creation with it.
And if you look online, there's photos of countless kids and their families holding up the trophy. Specifically, I know of Jen, who does the girls rugby Massachusetts social media
Yep.
page for Myro. Her whole family was holding it up, and like that is just a fine example of how good this Free Jacks organization is and how much they get it. Like
Yeah.
normally, there's no way that the Patriots are just gonna let people, just hand off the Vince
Yeah.
Lombardi trophy to
Right.
fans to
Oh,
pass
you want
around
to
and take
hold it?
photos
Here
with.
you go. Go ahead, run off with it.
Right. Yeah,
Go show your family. That's fine.
yeah, that would never happen. And that's just like I said, this organization is so community focused. They didn't just win that trophy. We all won it as Free Jacks fans and people that support this team and move this thing along, move the needle a little bit. So for them to recognize that, and they weren't like, I don't know, should we do this? They were immediately like, yeah, take the trophy, take some photos with it. That's just a testament of like why we all support this team. Obviously, they're our team. There is New England, right? And it's easy to get on board because they're the closest one to us. But the extra stuff that they do makes us love it even more, makes us want to go to Chicago and see them win the Shield. All of that sort of stuff is being built up. So it's just very, very encouraging to see. And it feels so good to say that they're Eastern Conference champions. So, yeah, there you go. Absolutely. All right, Dave, unless you got anything else, we're going to exit this segment and go directly into the San Diego preview. In
Sounds
3,
great.
2, 1, huzzah!
Huzzah!
Woo!